is it that has you so angry? Is it the attackers?
It's the attackers, but it's also the attacks. It's like, at first it was a thing of like, listen, if I tell the truth, then that's it, because it's the truth. Mm-hmm. Then it became a thing of like, oh, how can you doubt that? Like, how do you not believe that? It's the truth. And then it became a thing of like, oh, it's not necessarily that you don't believe that this is the truth. You don't even want to see the truth.
A year ago, remember actor Jussie Smollett was sentenced to 150 days in jail for faking a hate crime against himself in downtown Chicago.
Jussie Smollett is a very famous French actor.
If you guys don't remember, Jussie Smollett, aka Jussie Smollett, was accused of faking a hate crime and ultimately just lost his appeal. If you guys don't know who Jussie Smollett is, he is the brother of the famous Journey Smollett, who starred in the wonderfully made show that should have never got canceled, Lovecraft Country, and the movie Eve's Bayou. But unlike his sister, Jussie never had prominent roles that gave him that celebrity status. He's had minor roles in popular movies like The Mighty Duck and New Jack City, but he never reached that level. Because, like his sister, he's been acting since a child, but his sister has gotten back-to-back roles in really popular movies. It wasn't until 2014 when he got casted on Empire next to Taraji P. Henson and Terrence Howard that his career was beginning to take off. He played the gay son to Lucius Lyon, the CEO of a music company. His role was basically about him trying to win approval to his father while also building a career as a gay man in Hollywood. If you were on social media during the first season of Empire, then you know how big it really was. Every episode came with tons of memes, which made the show more popular by the week. All of this, of course, birthed new starlets in Black Hollywood, including Jussie. As the show got more popular and was renewed for more seasons, Jussie wanted an increase in his salary. When he started on Empire, he was making $65,000 an episode to an increased $125,000 per episode. Now granted, this is before taxes and paying managers and publicists, but in what world is making over $100K for an episode not enough? Especially for a seasonal show, like Empire isn't a limited series. Either way, Jussie got a bright idea to fake a hate crime to garner more publicity as a gay black man in Hollywood during a racist Trump era. Mind you, this was 2019, so tensions were a little high for minorities and Trump supporters. There were a lot of protests and fights breaking out because of the different views. A lot of Trump supporters were bigots and very much openly Trump with the Make America Great Again gear, so it wasn't too hard to believe that a racially homophobic motivated attack occurred. But Jussie was very committed to this story, and guys, I had to take a break and laugh at this, like sincerely, because I honestly couldn't believe it. A week before the attack occurred, Jussie allegedly wrote a letter. He cut up pieces of a magazine to form the letter and mailed it to the studios where they were filming Empire. Not only that, but in this letter, he crushed up aspirin to put in the envelope to add a little razzle-dazzle to it. He let them people put on hazmat gear to make sure it wasn't a poisonous illegal substance just for it to be aspirin. Aspirin.
I think there's a link between the letter and the attack. And you did mention it to the police right away about the letter.
Absolutely. Just because on the letter it had a stick figure hanging from a tree with a gun pointing towards it, with the words that said, "Smollett Jussie, you will die black." There was no address, but the return address said in big red, like caps, MAGA. Did I make that up too?
He did what he thought was necessary. He added racial undertones to it and everything, but unfortunately for him, it didn't go as planned because it didn't get the direct response that he wanted. It got little to no coverage, which prompted the coordination for the racial attack. A week later at 2 a.m., Jussie left his house to go get Subway. While he was walking, he apparently ran into two men wearing MAGA hats that immediately assaulted him in 16-degree weather. While also carrying a bottle of bleach, they poured it all on him, then took a rope and tied it around his neck like a noose, all while chanting MAGA chants. This, of course, caused an extreme uproar online, fueling responses from a lot of minorities and high-ranking people like Kamala Harris, Viola Davis, T.I., and even Steve Harvey, just to name a few, showed support to Jussie. Activists from Chicago were protesting and holding talks fighting over this most recent injustice. In all actuality, he actually created more attention in Chicago as this story became a media firestorm. Even when police came to him after the alleged attack, he still had the rope around his neck.
Okay. You want to take it off or anything?
Yeah, I do. I just want to see. 72 Robert?
She was transported one female official detention police.
He left it on so the police could see it. The amount of support that Jussie got was outstanding. People stood out in the freezing cold weather to show love and support to Jussie. They took time out of their day to really show love to him. Days later, he had a concert that was jam-packed where he spoke from the soul about fighting his oppressors and being the gay Tupac.
I was bruised, but my ribs were not cracked. They were not broken. I went to the doctor immediately. Frank Gatson drove me. I was not hospitalized. Both my doctors in LA and Chicago cleared me to perform, but said to take care, obviously. And above all, I fought the fuck back. Gay Tupac.
Then the cookies started to crumble. Police asked Jussie for his phone as evidence. He refused, but instead gave them a PDF document of all his files, call logs, and text messages. Then finally the police identified suspects, Ola and Abel, two brothers from Nigeria, and to come to find out they worked as extras for Empire and actually know Jussie, went to work out with him as his personal trainer and everything. They were actually well acquainted with each other. Now here's where the whole entire case goes beyond left and Jussie's 2 minutes of fame really started biting him. Even amidst all the racial tension, Trump said the act against Jussie was terrible. He came to his defense.
Why do you think you were targeted?
I can just assume, I come really, really hard against 45. I come really, really hard against his administration. And I don't hold my tongue.
I want to ask you about Jussie Smollett.
I think that's horrible. It doesn't get worse, as far as I'm concerned.
Were you aware that he made that statement?
I saw it. I don't know what to say to that.
The same day where Jussie does his Good Morning American interview where he ended off with tears.
I'm an advocate. I respect too much the people who I am now one of those people who have been attacked in any way. You do such a disservice when you lie about things like this.
If the attackers are never found, how will you be able to heal?
I don't know. Let's just hope that they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's not go there yet. Let's, I was talking to a friend and I said, I just want them to find them. And she said, sweetie, they're not gonna find them.
It was discovered by police that the suspects Ola and Abel had items seized from their police raid of their home, including a blackface mask, an Empire script, their phone, receipts, and a red hat and bleach. Like, they didn't even bother to dispose of the evidence. They had days to do this. The problem is that they didn't actually hide their trail. There's evidence from the beginning to the end that points at Jussie. First, the brothers used the rideshare app to navigate. They have them on video traveling to the crime scene. They were also on video purchasing the items, including the rope, and there is cell phone evidence of communication between Jussie with them before, after, and when they took their trip to Nigeria. Why he didn't use a burner is beyond me. But what's even worse out of everything, Jussie paid them via check. He wrote a check for $3,500 to the brothers. Like, this is crime 101. Literally, the first step of any crime is to always use cash. Don't put your name on anything that could lead back to you. He gave them a check to cash instead of just going to the ATM. The brothers had no problem telling the police that Jussie paid them to stage the attack. They turned on him in a heartbeat.
And we had to plan our escape route to survey the land. His building is actually right here, right above the stairs that we're going to attack him at. We made sure we got there at 2 a.m. sharp.
On the dot.
On the dot. We had no phones because he did not want us to bring any phones. He said, so we don't lose them. I don't know if that's really the reason. That's him. Is that him?
That's that Nick.
It's that Nick.
Get that Nick.
Oh, he's moving fast. Come on, let's get him.
Get that Nick.
Let's get him. As we crossed the street, we said, hey, to get his attention.
Hey, Nick.
Hey! He turned around, looked at us, and that's when we started yelling the famous slurs he wanted us to yell. Hey!
Aren't you that Empire?
Hey, Empire fat Nick! It's MAGA country.
Yeah.
And then he said, what did you say to me? And then that's when I threw the first punch at him. and then I threw him to the ground. And after I threw him to the ground, he had no bruise. I wanted it to look more real. So then I threw him to the ground. After I threw him to the ground, I used my knuckle and gave him a noogie. So I went like this. Why did I do that? To give him a scar, to give him a mark, to make it look real, like he really did get his ass beat.
The police, though, already had speculations from the beginning that there was a lot of holes in Jussie's story, and it only took them a few days to really find all the evidence to arrest Jussie for this hoax.
Commentators and even presidential candidates weighed in on something that was choreographed by an actor. First, Smollett attempted to gain attention by sending a false letter that relied on racial, homophobic, and political language. When that didn't work, Smollett paid $3,500 to stage this attack and drag Chicago's reputation through the mud in the process. And why? This stunt was orchestrated by Smollett because he was dissatisfied with his salary. So he concocted a story about being attacked. Now, our city has problems. We know that. We have problems that have affected people from all walks of life, and we know that. But to put the national spotlight on Chicago for something that is both egregious and untrue is simply shameful.
You may ask yourself, who would do such a thing and why? Honestly, Hollywood is full of fake stunts to garner attention. A lot of things are carefully orchestrated to capture the public's attention, whether it's being photographed or fake relationships or even fake stories. It happens more than we really think. This was the first time in Jussie's life where he was starting to get more popularity, but it just wasn't enough. He also wanted a raise from working on Empire, and they denied it to him. So he figured he could get sympathy from the hoax to boost himself as a celebrity. The tragic story of a gay black actor in Hollywood that was a victim of racial and homophobic profiling. And it worked. It did exactly what it needed to do for the first few days. Unfortunately for him, it wasn't well thought out, and he was being stingy with his coins. He didn't pull the right moves to make the situation work because he didn't actually think he would get caught. He probably assumed with all the racial issues that his story was going to get picked up, police weren't actually going to do their job, and everything was going to be swept under the rug. And honestly, it could have actually worked if he wasn't so messy with everything. Maybe if he didn't actually work with his attackers, pay with a check, got rid of the evidence, or even contact them on their personal phones, it really could have worked. Possibly. Because of the embarrassment he caused the Chicago natives who rallied behind him and the police department, they were set on charging him with 16 counts of felony disorderly conduct for filing a false police report. But the charges were dropped, which caused an additional outrage from the mayor of Chicago and the chief of police. The police department even sued him for wasting their resources and overtime pay. The case was extremely messy, but the nail in the coffin would have to be the good old conspiracy theorist trope. See, while Jussie was in court, he wanted to play on the minds of the common internet conspiracy theorists. His last words to the judge was that he was absolutely not suicidal.
No, I would just like to say to Your Honor that I am not suicidal. That's what I would like to say.
Okay.
I am not suicidal.
Okay.
I am not suicidal. I am innocent, and I am not suicidal. If I did this, then it means that I stuck my fist in the fears of Black Americans in this country for over 400 years and the fears of the LGBTQ community. Your Honor, I respect you and I respect the jury, but I did not do this, and I am not suicidal. And if anything happens to me when I go in there, I did not do it to myself, and you must all know that. I respect you, Your Honor. I respect your decision. Jail time. I am not suicidal.
Okay.
Why would he say that, you may ask? Well, as the common conspiracy theorist, it is believed that when a high-profile person endures some type of injustice or have seen too much or spoke too much, that they are killed off. And as always, it is always disguised as a suicide. Just like someone like Jeffrey Epstein, some people don't believe he actually committed suicide in jail, but we can't confirm nor deny. It's just left to speculation. But Jussie, he was going to die in his lie, because even though there is evidence that contradicts his entire story, I don't think he believes that he can tell the truth now. Even though he's not getting any serious punishment from the law, this was a career suicide. If he told the truth, he'd be blacklisted as a liar who faked a hate crime for money and selfishness. And what if he doesn't tell the truth? If he didn't tell the truth, as he's not doing now, he'll have some people in his corner that still kind of believe that the whole story was real and they're just trying to tear down another black man. Because again, this story is so far-fetched, why would he keep lying about it, right? So he's standing 10-toed on what happened in order to kind of save face, because if he openly says it was a lie, then I don't think there's any coming back from that. Plus, admitting it years later would reignite negative press to his name, and I don't think he could deal with any more of that. Well, that concludes today's video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Toodles!